is a spiritual deity. Freedom and liberty and justice shall fight for you. When you fight for freedom with all your soul, take it from me. This is Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB, the voice of the nation, the voice.
And here is a special announcement from the leadership of Biafra government in exile. This is BCB.
Thank you and welcome to everyone listening to this program. We must constantly keep in mind the reason for agitating for a sovereign state of Biafra. It is for the survival of the ethnic nationalities that make up the old Eastern region, the region that declared independence from Nigeria on May 30, 1967. A number of things led to Biafra leaving Nigeria in 1967. The most important being the gruesome slaughter of hundreds of thousands of Biafrans in Nigeria in 1966, the pogrom, and the subsequent inability of Nigerian government to stop those killings in northern Nigeria. About 2 weeks after the declaration of Biafra as an independent free nation, the young nation was viciously attacked in a barbaric genocidal war. Biafra withstood the occupying jihadist forces of Nigeria, backed by Britain and other foreign nations, for 3 years. The declaration is something every child with Biafra blood should be proud of, especially the unanimity of it, as demonstrated by the mandate given to Ojukwu by the Consultative Assembly representing the peoples of Eastern Nigeria, as it then was. Biafra government in exile represents and symbolizes that glorious moment and that dogged spirit of a people who are still alive today. The declaration that gave birth to the current Biafra government in exile in April 2006 followed those great steps of the Assembly of the Peoples and Nation of Biafra, at home and in exile, and in all the corners of the earth. As we pay tribute to those members of Biafra Foundation who worked hard from 2004 to 2006 to rebirth the Biafra government in exile, we give them credit. Their legacy will never be in vain. And when you take a closer look at the declaration that gave rise to BGIE in 2006, it brings us home, even today, to the reality that we face and the urgent need for everyone to rise and see that this race is completed. The declaration says, in its first paragraph, and I quote, "There comes a time in the life of a people when their physical survival, their dignity, fundamental human rights, and indeed the very essence of their being, endowed on them by their Creator, and guaranteed under natural and international laws, supersede all temporary comfort and demand unreserved and unmitigated action in defense of those God-given rights. For the peoples of Biafra, that time is now. If these words were true in 2006, they are even more profound today in 2024. And it goes on to say, and I quote, "Whereas the peoples and nation of Biafra and their land and property find themselves under physical, economic, political, sociological, and psychological subjugation by the state of Nigeria since 1967, a state of occupation of Biafra by Nigeria has existed and continues to exist, unwilling to continue to live under such stifling servitude, while suffering such indignities as are inappropriate for human beings, determined to exercise the natural and legal rights to freedom and liberty. We, the peoples of the Federation of Biafra, have resolved to actualize, renew, reaffirm, and continue with the Declaration of Biafra Independence of May 30, 1967, with all the appropriate implications thereof." And it goes on to say, "In reaffirming the independence of Biafra, the peoples and nation of Biafra make neither war nor peace with the state or peoples of Nigeria. Rather, we exercise a natural right, a political right, and a right supported by the United Nations Organization Charter and international laws, the right to self-determination." The agitation for Biafra has never been about war, about violence, about conflict. It's always been about equality, about justice, about freedom, and about liberty. The fact remains that agitation for Biafra does not mean war. It doesn't mean conflict. It doesn't mean violence. And so BGIE will continue to vehemently advocate for a continued non-violent approach to self-determination. Any Biafran youth following the path of violence is doing a disservice to the peoples and nation of Biafra, whether you're at home or you're in diaspora. And you're contributing to the violence and the insecurity in Biafra land. You are not agitating for Biafra. You are just committing crime. Let me tell you today, in a very clear manner, and we have to bear this in mind, there is more than sufficient intellectual power within us, economically, entrepreneurially, politically, psychologically, scientifically, innovatively, morally, and ethically, to achieve freedom and liberty for the peoples and nation of Biafra within the medium and long term. The restoration project is always going to be a marathon and not a sprint. We must show patience, perseverance, endurance. There is an argument for an Igbo-only nation as opposed to a Biafra nation. I must admit that there are some merit in that argument for those who feel strongly about Igbo-only nation. However, the facts remain. There was a country, there was a nation. The nation Achebe was writing about existed for 3 years, from May 30, 1967 to 15th January 1970, nearly 3 years. The Biafra nation was declared by Ojukwu as mandated by the Eastern Region Consultative Assembly. The assembly was made up of about 336 members from across the length and breadth of the former Eastern region, comprising Ijo, Ibibio, Oron, Igbo, Ogoja, Efik, Ibanke or Ibakere, Anioma, Urobo, Degema, Ikwere, Isoko, among others. In the war, all these people fought alongside each other to defend our motherland. They fought in the bushes, on the roads, in the trenches, in the air, in the water, and in the towns. Their descendants are still alive today and cherish and value the sacrifices their fathers and mothers made for Biafra. They have a stake. They fought the same way we did. However, in the present day, it is possible positions may have shifted and people may see things differently from 1967 and 1970. Different indices may have changed. It is therefore imperative to allow freedom of choice. Individual ethnic nationalities within Biafra must reserve the freedom to choose where they want to belong, whether they want to be a separate nation themselves. A referendum will therefore be required for each to decide. No group should ever be forced into a union they are not agreeable to. Let me end by calling on the Nigerian government once again to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally and all Biafra detainees suffering unjustly in various detention facilities in Nigeria. Agitation for self-determination is not a crime. But Operation Python Dance was a crime. Illegal rendition from Kenya was a crime under international law. This federal government of Nigeria should do the needful and correct the wrongs of the evil despot and coupist Buhari, the leader of the just past federal government of Nigeria. This current government should discontinue the case against Kanu and release him unconditionally and release every Biafra detainee. And to all our veterans and elders, I pray for you and salute you. We respect you. We look up to you for wisdom, leadership, truth, courage, strength, and honor. May our ancestors be with you. May Okike, the Almighty, bless you. And may He bless and restore our nation, Biafra.
This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, bringing you the news headlines for the week. In the news this week, first old Abia civilian governor, Onu, dies. Poverty, hunger, unemployment on the increase in Ebonyi. Nigerian military committed to returning peace in the southeast. Stay tuned for details of the news to follow shortly. From The Nation, first old Abia civilian governor, Onu, dies. The first old Abia civilian governor, Ogbonnayo Onu, is dead. The former Minister of Science and Technology in the immediate past administration died in an Abuja hospital. He hailed from Uburu in Ohazara, local government area of Ebonyi State. The family confirmed his demise in a statement by one Uzoma Onu. It said, Onu died at 73 in the early hours of Tuesday. The statement reads, in total submission to the will of the Almighty God, the family of His Royal Highness, late Eze David Abonu, Eze Abdu of Uburu in Ohazara local government area of Ebonyi State, announces the death of our distinguished son, His Excellency Dr. Ogbonnayo Onu, who died earlier today, the 11th day of April 2024, at the age of 73. He was the former national chairman leader of the defunct All Nigeria People's Party, ANPP. Also, he initiated and facilitated discussions that finally resulted in the formation of the All Progressive Congress, APC, that has been the ruling political party in the country since May 29, 2015. Dr. Ogbonnayo Onu was a former Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, a position he held for 7 years, having been reappointed in the second tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. He resigned as minister and contested for the presidential primaries of the APC. A fine statesman, party leader, political strategist, brilliant scholar, outstanding intellectual public speaker, teacher, lecturer, inventor, researcher, consultant, engineer, youth mobilizer, accomplished administrator, prolific author and poet, and a man of great ideas, as well as distinguished man of exceptional principle, integrity, discipline, and exemplary character. Our hearts are filled with sorrow. He will be greatly missed by all who knew him for a long time to come. Uzoma Onu said burial arrangements will be communicated by the family in due time. From the Daily Post, poverty, hunger, unemployment on the increase in Ebonyi State, Odi, PDP Gobo candidate. The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in March 18, 2023, general elections in Ebonyi State, Dr. Ifeanyi Chukwuma Odi, has raised alarm over the increasing rates of poverty, hunger, and unemployment in the state. Odi urged the PDP party faithful to work together for the development of Ebonyi State. The PDP standard bearer stated this while addressing party members during a one-way thank you stakeholder meeting in Isu community in the Onitsha local government area of Ebonyi State on Thursday. According to him, the resolve of the party leadership to stay united would help it fight injustice, corruption, sycophancy, and greed in the state. For me, I am always intentional with making good progress in life. In like manner, let me particularly remind us that we must therefore forge ahead. And in forging forward, I believe that it is important for us to remain resolute, united, focused on our shared goals and aspiration of a prosperous Ebonyi State. He said, particularly, I am deeply concerned the all-time rising rate of poverty, unemployment and hunger in the state, lack of access to potable water, the non-existence of viable industries in the state, declining standards of education, lack of access to healthcare service delivery, poor state rating and the ease of doing business, and the disturbing human development indices of the state, among the other critical issues of grave concern. To this end, I therefore urge each and every one of you to remain engaged, steadfast, and involved in our collective resolve to create something new and extraordinary for our people. Become more inspired by your usual genuine love for our people, and always know that your voices and your actions matter. Together we can make a difference. Furthermore, our collective gratitude also goes to all those who took the ways of Judas and abused the trust and confidence that we repose in them. No doubt, your actions may have caused us temporary setbacks, but they have only made us stronger, more united, and more dedicated to the cause. As you already know, that despite the challenges we face, we emerged more resilient and more determined to make a difference in the lives of our people. Your actions have taught us valuable lessons about loyalty, integrity, and the importance of standing firm in the face of adversity. It has united us in our resolve to fight against corruption, injustice, sycophancy, and greed. As a part of our forging forward, let me particularly say that I forgive you all from the depth of my heart. I'm convinced that you are already aware that we are not deterred by your actions, but rather your double standard has fueled our collective drive forward towards our goal. He added, in conclusion, our dear dedicated party men and women, I want to thank you all again for your support and dedication. I am proud to have had the opportunity to lead this transformational journey, and I am excited about the future we can build together. Most cherished and patriotic Iboyans, I charge you all, let us continue to move forward with hope, determination to recreate our dear state. Most importantly, I assure you that our structures are strengthened, and we shall keep strengthening them to ensure that they are fit for purpose at all times. Going forward, more information will be communicated to you from the appropriate structures on the way forward. Nigerian military committed to returning peace to the southeast, says JTF commander. And this is news from Daily Nigeria. The Commander Joint Task Force Southeast Operation Udoka, Major General Hassan Dada, has said that this commitment to total return of peace to the southeast region remains sacrosanct. Mr. Dada, who is also the General Officer Commander, GOC 82 Division of the Nigerian Army, said this while addressing troops during a Salah lunch with the troops and security personnel of the operation at the naval base, Oguta, Council area of Imo, on Thursday. The commander pledged unflinching support for civil authorities to ensure the return and sustenance of peace in the region for sustainable economic development. He commended all security personnel of the operations for their resilience, adding that the successes so far recorded would not have been possible without collective efforts. The commander further thanked the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, and Chief of Defense Staff, CDS General Christopher Musa, for their moral, logistics, and other support, while restating his commitments to peace in the division's area of responsibility. After consistent efforts by our troops and security personnel of the Operation Udoka, this is tremendous improvement in security, and we will not rest on our oars until peace totally returns. We urge the civil populace to embrace this fight against insecurity and not hesitate to share useful information with us to aid our efforts, he said. Earlier in an opening address, the Operations Maritime Component Commander, Commodore Mohammed Salisu, said the launch was aimed at boosting morale of troops and officers for enhancement of operation. He called for greater synergy between security agencies while assuring that the operation would continue to leverage its successes for continued operation. He, however, thanked Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State for the enabling environment for carrying out operations, especially in parts of the state. Also, the Operations Land Component Commander and Commander 34 Artillery Brigade of the Nigerian Army, Obinze, Inoweri, Brigadier General Usman Lawal, thanked the CDS for all requisite equipment and logistic support. He further pledged commitments to peace and security of the state, the southeast, and Nigeria at large. A highlight of the events was the distribution of food to troops and officers of the operations by the GOC in demonstration of their appreciation for their loyalty. And that brings an end to the news headlines for the week. This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, saying thank you for listening and goodbye, friends.
This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
This is Rosama, and this is BCB. Currently, Biafra land, specifically the Igbo-dominated areas, feels like a conflict zone. The Nigerian government and some of its sycophant governors, I need not name them, have not helped our people who continue to suffer due to a wide range of economic, social, and environmental disparities. Of course, we must commend the efforts of Abia State Governor Alex Oti, who is engaged in an ambitious project of regional economic and structural revitalization. But let us not forget that for over 50 years, since the end of the war for our survival, the Nigerian government has not stopped punishing us for a war we did not even begin. Let us remember that they started killing us, and when we left, they invaded us. Soon it will be May, and we will remember the day our leader, General Odimegwu Ojukwu, declared Biafra's sovereignty. In the past decade, our communities have faced an escalation of all forms of violence, economic, structural, and political, from the Nigerian government and its representatives, whether they be the Fulani cattle herdsmen rampaging homelands from Anambra, Ebonyi to Imo and Abia, or Nigerian security forces and so-called unknown gunmen who have been attacking, abducting, and murdering our people. Our people have not had peace. Now the economic hardship is further killing our people. Many of our youth, particularly in crisis, and with nowhere to go. They become involved in thuggery, banditry, kidnapping, and all manner of nefarious acts. Really, when did our people begin to kill one another? Our culture finds the shedding of anyone's blood an abomination against the supreme goddess and mother, Allah. She condemns the shedding of human blood on her body. But we have now become people who no longer care about our values or our communities. We commit sacrilege and murder our own, defiling the earth that nurtures us. We cannot continue to blame colonization or Nigeria for our horrible actions. We must accept accountability and the consequences of the traumas we bring upon ourselves. We must reconcile ourselves with the reality that this struggle for freedom may last a long time into our future. Besides, we have been at it since 1966 or even earlier. But particularly since 1966, when we fled to Biafra to save ourselves from the pogroms and massacres in other parts of Nigeria, only to be visited by a war we didn't want. But this oppression cannot be in perpetuity. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King has said, the oppressed cannot remain oppressed forever. There will be an end to this oppression, and only we can do it. Therefore, we cannot wait for God to liberate us, no matter how much we call upon God or pray. We cannot wait for any Western country, for that matter, to liberate us, no matter how much we ask them to intervene. In all the histories of liberation struggles that I know, from Algeria to Guinea-Bissau, Angola, Mozambique, Kenya, South Africa, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and recently South Sudan, the oppressed liberated themselves. But that act of self-liberation must start with us, not killing one another. We cannot continue to do the enemy's work for it. It begins with the liberation of our minds. So we must believe that there are enough of us to resist the oppression, to resist the desire to harm ourselves, to resist oppressive policies, even one imposed from within by some self-possessed people who claim to be leading our people. Now, let us begin by putting an end to the so-called Monday sit at home that has devastated our communities. It is not helping us economically. It is not helping us psychologically. It is no longer needed. And as we can tell, it did not improve the situation in Biafra land. It did not put an end to Nigeria's oppression, and it did not lead to the release of Nnamdi Kanu for that matter. Even IPOB leadership has noted that the sit-at-home has been ineffective and destructive, and they also have dissociated themselves from it. So why are people still maintaining it to their own detriment? This is irresponsible thinking. So it is time to stop. Come back home. Defy the desire to harm yourselves. And this defiance against unnecessary policy also means that we hold ourselves accountable and that we become our protectors and not turn the defiance to this irresponsible policy into an excuse for more violence directed at our communities. So as we engage in resistance, we must do it with purpose. My people, we call you to join us in a recommitment to fight for our freedom and protection of our human rights and dignity, and peace in our communities. I thank you for joining us today, and I hope you will continue to join us in the future. Like us on YouTube and Facebook, and subscribe to BCB. My people, I wish you peace of the earth. This is Rosama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Let's get wiser. Thank you for listening to us today. Join us next time for news, cultural, and educational programs. This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.